I'd wanted to push back from going down that path all throughout probably secondary school, and then probably another reason why I sort of went down the commerce path, thinking do something different and find your own way. And then the options just kept leading me in that direction.
Have you ever chosen a path because it felt safe, only to realise it didn't quite fit? Maybe you're a parent watching your teenager select subjects and wondering, what if they choose wrong? Or you're a student or a young person in a course right now thinking this looks good on paper, but you've realised it actually doesn't feel like you. Or you're someone currently in your career thinking this isn't what I thought it was going to be. In this episode of More Than a Score, we sit down with James Cameron, not the director of Titanic, but also someone who I would say is a legend, a teacher, adventurer and mentor who knows what it means to change direction.
James began university on one course and realised it wasn't aligned. He had the courage to shift, not because he was failing, but because he was paying attention. Now working inside the education system, James sees firsthand how quickly young people tie their identity to subjects, scores and labels. But he's also discovered that his real strengths were never just academic. They were relational, building connection, creating belonging, leading through outdoor education, helping young people grow through challenge, not just content. This is a conversation about adjusting course, backing yourself and redefining success beyond a number. Because one score does not define you and one decision does not lock in your future. Welcome to this episode of More Than a Score.
James Cameron, welcome to More Than a Score. It's an absolute pleasure. I'm sure you sign lots of autographs. And do you ever get sort of extra reservations when people think, I loved Avatar? Thank you so much. Do you ever get that at all?
Yeah, I'd prefer they admire my old work, the Titanic, but...
James, the Titanic Cameron. I'm very lucky I get to do the introductions for our guests. So with the help of the lovely Laura here, we've got a little bit of an intro that we've got for you.
Beautiful.
Opportunity creator, doesn't wait for the right path. He builds one through action and experience. Adventurous, drawn to new environments, cultures and challenges beyond the classroom. A calculated risk taker, willing to step off the expected path while staying grounded and purposeful. And a lifelong learner who views education as ongoing, personal and evolving. And finally, this was one Laura added in, values-led educator and teacher who's guided by passion, balance and purpose and cares more about people than status or scores. And finally, the founder of Rise Outdoors, who do hikes and outdoor adventures for kids aged 6 to 17. James Cameron, lovely to have you on More Than a Score.
Welcome.
Thanks very much. That's quite the wrap up there. It feels it doesn't feel like it's directed towards me, but it's very kind words. Thank you for that.
Oh, it definitely is.
It is funny when you get those sent back to us. So Laura and I recently, we were on the other side and we had people do the intros to us, and we actually felt that sort of squirm that you sometimes get as you read. You're like, oh, is that the thing? It took us quite a while to get used to it.
Or you try and dumb it down in some way, but it's it's nice to hear the things and actually accept them.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I did actually, I heard your one, Laura, and it was an apt description of yourself as well, but to have it come back, it does feel like you're right in the hot seat, that's for sure.
Well, I guess if you're familiar with the episode, so a question we normally start with is, when you think back to your time at the end of school, were you happy with your score?
I was pretty happy with my score. I mean, in terms of my year 12, I probably didn't put in a mountain of work in comparison to my older siblings were both fairly studious, and I was probably more into the sports and that type of thing throughout year 12. And then I had a bit of an injury, broke a wrist in the last month before the exams playing football. So that probably deterred me even more. And maybe I probably thought 81 or the score that I ended up with was, sort of just a nice pass mark, I guess, for the efforts that I'd put in. But yeah.
What was the provisions they put in with your wrist? What did you have to do?
So I did all my last SACs all verbally. English, Bizman, Phys Ed, which was pretty interesting experience. Yep. All sort of one-on-one with the teacher. Yeah, pretty generous of them. I'm thinking back now, a lot of them have given up their lunchtimes to do it. So it was a bit of an inconvenience, but certainly was a good lesson as well.
So was that your exams or the final like in-class assessments you had to do verbally?
Yeah, all the in-class assessments were all verbal.
Gosh.
Yeah, and then the in-exam ones, so all the end-of-year exams, they were all sort of, I think I had 15 minutes sort of thing breaks that I could use intermittently throughout the exam, like take 5 minutes here and 5 minutes there, and that was probably a blessing, to be honest. By that point, I still had the cast, but it was probably a blessing to be able to process things.
Yeah, I remember the English exams like 3 hours long. So in that time, short breaks.
Yeah,
you're dealing with a broken, and I'm assuming it was your writing hand.
Yeah, it was a writing hand. Yeah. I thought about trying to learn with the opposite hand, but I ran out of time.
I love that. That's your first thought. You're like, do you know what I'll do? I'll just in this next month, I'll just teach myself how to write with the other hand.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. So just to listen to that. So in the top 19%. And I love the fact that you sort of said it with a wry smile on your face. You're like, oh yeah, like it was a sort of good enough score with that.
Yeah.
It seems like no matter what sort of score you got, you were almost envisioning something else ahead of you, or it was less about the score and something else that was coming next.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I probably didn't have a particular score in mind, I guess. My whole family had all gone through university. My dad's side of the family, who were all older cousins and sort of role models in a way. I had gone through one year by year, all throughout, the last, I think it had been 10 years, 10 older cousins and 10 years before me. So I sort of getting the scores rolled out each year.
Yeah.
The score for me, I was still probably pretty passionate about sport and that type of thing at that point. So I wasn't too set on getting a particular score, but to be honest, I didn't really know what I wanted to do at that point either. Yeah. So it wasn't like I had a real goal in terms of I need to get this to get into a university degree or that type of thing. So, yeah.
And you had two sisters that came before you that were super academic. How did that impact you, do you think, as a student?
I picked similar subjects, which was probably a silly idea, as my middle sister, who's just 3 years older than me. Probably because she got a good score, I thought, that's probably a smart way to go.
Yeah.
Chasing maybe, I don't know, the path of least resistance, or we're pretty similar people as well. So I didn't look too much into the courses I picked, which is probably a silly idea. There's some pretty awesome subjects out there now. I'm actually teaching. I hear about the opportunities that some of the other classes offer. There's some awesome things that I could have done, I guess.
What would you go back and do differently? Because it sounds like you're now more aware of the game and the way that you would play it. What would you do differently?
I'd be picking subjects that would be just of far more interest to me. So when I was going through, we didn't have a subject, Bet Sport and Rec at the time, but we've got that in the school now. I don't know why I didn't pick health. There's a few subjects there. I just followed the path of the older siblings, and ended up in taking a lot of notes and trying to do a lot of revision, which it wasn't sort of what I was interested in, I guess.
Yeah.
So what, in a summary, like what is sport and rec? Just for the person that's sitting there listening who maybe goes, oh, hang on, my kid's pretty interested in sport. This could be something, but they have no idea of all the subjects on offer.
Yeah. So sport and rec is a subject where students they gain a qualification through their 2 years of year 11 and 12, which is a certificate, I think 2 and 3 in vet sport and rec, and then they can go and use that, and it'll give them hands-on skills like workplace health and safety and instructional units that they can then go and use to get a job at a local rec centre, park, or any type of like swim centre, gyms, those types of things.
So if they finish year 12 on top of the actual certificate too.
Yeah, they come out with a few actual extra certificates, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting subject in the fact that you're getting to actually go out and deliver your own instructional methods and things like that. It's kind of cool and unique, I think.
Sport's already coming through, and I know there's this focus on also being outdoors and really connecting with people too, but is it all right if I ask a bit more about it? So what is it about sport that seems to be that thing that always interests you and you come back to?
That's a good question. I've just always been passionate and really interested in sport, I think. When I was young, just watching the Australian Open and watching cricket and footy obsessed. So I guess I just followed that path all the way through, and whether it's the hands-on nature of playing sport or whether that's drawn me, I'm not sure, but it always has just definitely had a pull for me anyway.
And a mixture of team-based and then individual sports, or is there sort of one more than other that you've noticed when you think back?
Personally, I've always loved team sport. Yeah, personally, always team sport. I love watching the individual sport. You got to admire the individual drive of a lot of those tennis players and mental strength, I guess.
Yeah, there's something really special. We with our family, I know, Loz, you and I have spoken about with our kids, we try and get them to play a mixture of like team, but also there might be some individual. Like one of my daughters absolutely loves dance, but then she also does basketball.
Yeah.
And the thing that we love with it, after the first time they lost, she said, but we all lost together.
Yeah.
And then when they won, there's this real high you get when you're all together, but there's something special about it being bigger than just you.
Yeah. Yeah. Got others to fall back on.
Yeah.
Rely on each other. Yeah. I think there's so many lessons to be learned in playing community sport as a young person. I think it's definitely held me in great stead. One of my football coaches, I'd be he's probably had one of the biggest impacts on me in my life. And that's just community sport when you're 16, 17 years old. They're pretty vulnerable years when you look back, but in the time it feels pretty incidental.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We always talk about Steve Biddulph. He writes the book Raising Boys, and it often talks about male sort of development happens in 3 stages. So the first is about 0 to like 6 or 7, and it's the idea of being loved and safe, and your mum gives you a lot of that sort of stuff. And then from 6 to about 12, 13 is when you look to your father to be like, what does it mean to be a man and to be a male?
Yep.
And then from that sort of 12, 13 all the way to 18, you actually look for males in the community, so you move away from your family unit. And it's interesting that you're already bringing up this football coach and the males that you perhaps found without realising how actually important it is for your rite of passage to find these males.
Yeah. Well, that makes a lot of sense to me that timeline. Thinking back, community sport, just the strength and the connection that you can actually have to a place, and reliability and consistency from those role models. I think, it's pretty critical.
Now, full disclosure, I was a teacher while you were a student at the school.
Yep.
And if I think about where I would see your photo most in the yearbook, it would have been to do with lifesaving, probably. That's where I would have seen you the most. So what was lifesaving for you during that time?
It's a good one. Lifesaving it's been a fairly interesting journey all throughout the years. When I was starting out at school, I sort of skipped through nippers, so I didn't really have much to do with it there. But once I was at school, my dad ran the lifesaving program at the school. And he had done probably for about 20 years already by that point. And he had a fair few to go still. But he was in charge of it, and he'd run a camp at the end of the year, and he'd take 50-odd students down to Lawn at that point, and they'd gain a qualification to become a qualified lifesaver, SRC or Bronze Medallion. Then throughout the summer, we'd go down and patrol at Portsea Back Beach, which is probably one of the wilder beaches in the state. And I've still got one of my great mates is still one of my great mates who signed up for lifesaving that first year in year 7, and we still laugh about some of the camps back in the day down there, and that's how it started, getting into it through Dad and through the program he ran, and once a year camp back then.
Listening to your background, you're pretty active. You like to be involved in lots of different things. You like to be involved with people, but also this focus around community seems to be really jumping through. We know we've got a previous teacher here that taught you, so we won't look at her right now, but if we had to look at all your different school reports, what would be like the key thing that kept coming through on your school reports?
The key thing that kept coming through. That's really good. I think it would have been studious. I was pretty hard-working through those early years of high school, I think. I would imagine it would have been respectful, although there's a good story from Laura about probably one of the great lessons I learned about respect back through middle school English. But I think it would have been hardworking and studious and respectful, and those types of things. I didn't get in too much trouble, but when I did, Dad held me account. He was a teacher at the school as well, obviously, so he would find out.
Got it. Okay, so studious, hardworking, brackets, my dad was also at the school. Is that it?
Like, he never came to any parent-teacher. He'd just pull you up in the staff room and be like, hey, how's he going? And it'd be like that, wouldn't it? And you'd just have a quick chat and you'd be like, all right, great.
And he'd do the point to you like you just did then?
Great, how's he going? Yeah, he would.
I feel like it'd be remiss of me not to push on this thing of this respect thing in middle school. I feel like there's a story here that, just for the listener, everyone.
I'm blushing because I didn't realise the impact that this had on you until later. But yeah, you go.
It's a pretty classic story because it was, I would imagine as a staff now how incidental it would have felt as a staff member and how in passing it would have been. But I'd just had what I'd thought was a pretty normal lesson. I may have been a bit chattier than normal. And then after school, I was just waiting outside the staff room. And Dad knocked on the window and told me to come into the staff room. And right in the middle of there's probably about 80 staff in that one room. Right in the middle of it, got me to, I got Laura to say sort of how my behaviour had been that lesson, and it probably had been reflected that I was a bit chatty and a bit disruptive. And as someone that didn't get in trouble a lot, I felt pretty flat in front of the rest of the staff that day.
Were they all watching, or were people starting to do that thing where they start to busy themselves?
Yeah, it's the classic, like your favourite teacher sort of walking by and just giving you that sort of look of disdain for being disruptive to another teacher. But it definitely taught me a good lesson not to get too carried away in the excitement with mates in a classroom sometimes.
That was, to be fair though, there was only 4 girls in that class. I still remember 4 girls. Yeah, I could name them.
I feel like you're just excusing James the fact that he was just chatting all the time. That's what I'm hearing from us.
I actually really feel, because I reckon I would have just been like in part saying, oh yeah, he's a bit chatty, so even in my head it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
And I honestly I really feel terrible. Absolutely.
I would imagine you would have forgotten about it, but
I have forgotten about it only because you brought it up in the last podcast we did.
We'll put that in the show notes, everyone, if you would like to see that other one.
James that I've done together. Yeah. You poor thing. Sorry, James.
That's a good lesson, I think. A timely lesson in year 9. That's a good time to get a little reminder.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting as well. So studious, hardworking, and then before we move on to the journey post school.
Yep.
So studious, hardworking. You obviously really care about doing the right thing by people as well. So how did it feel the moment when you broke your wrist, and then you're about to go into, because the end of year 12 can feel so high stakes.
Mm.
So what did you think in that moment when you suddenly broke your wrist and you knew you couldn't write?
It was a bit of like a rough time because it was the football team that I was playing in. It was undefeated for the year and it was in the preliminary final. So I sort of knew they were going to go on and win the premiership as well, and I was going to miss out on that. So that was pretty flat, to be honest. That sort of took up most of my headspace, I think, to start with. And then it was a matter of, all right, how am I going to get through these last a month and a half of school, and make sure I guess I get a score that reflects the ability. But to be honest, it was the senior school principal at the time was pretty fantastic. She pulled me in the first day back at school and laid out the processes for me and said she'll be, accommodating and make sure that the final tests will be given under the right circumstances and stuff. And to be honest, that was it from there. She'd lined it out, and once the path was set, it felt achievable, and it was onwards from there, I guess. Yeah,
it's pretty amazing because the fact that that's about 15 years ago.
Yeah,
and you can instantly still remember that moment and recall that sense of relief.
Yeah,
we're like, here, we've got you. It sounds like you've got a number of people at your time, like football coaches, and your dad sort of there. It's pressure at school, but also like support.
Yeah,
you've got another teacher here that is in your corner, and then you've got this person in charge of the campus.
Yeah,
doing right by. It sounds like you've been really. I don't know if it's lucky, but you've got all these people around you supporting and challenging you too.
Yeah, it's pretty blessed, I think, in that respect. The head of the school had taught me for business management for the year, so I guess I was lucky I had a bit of a connection with her, so she probably took a bit of an interest and made sure that I was feeling okay with it all. But yeah, I definitely does seem a bit blessed thinking back to know that you did have people in your corner at that time where, things, I guess looking back, probably could have gone to rubbish pretty easily.
Yeah,
could have probably thrown it in or something like that.
I reflect on being a teacher at that time at that school, and the staff there were that community was incredible.
Yeah.
You would have had so many cheerleaders behind you.
Yeah.
The staff was so committed.
Yeah.
And it was just a really good community, I think. So I'm glad to hear that you felt that too.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely felt it as a student, 100%. Yeah. yeah, to be honest, I think a lot of the other students did as well at the time.
Yeah.
I was speaking to past students as well. They've got some great memories of some of the teachers around those times. So
I'd love to know. So you finished school and you chose commerce. Considering all we've discussed up until this point, not one thing has suggested that that's the kind of course you would choose post-school.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested as to why that was what you chose.
yeah, I picked it not really under the sort of pretty randomly, I guess, under the impression of my older sibling had done, she'd actually did a double degree in commerce and sports science or something like that. So I'd probably seen her path again and thought, oh yeah, that's not a bad option. And then I don't think I would have got the score in the end, funnily enough, speaking about not caring about the score, to get into the double degree. And I'd done business management at the school and got pretty good results in that, even though it probably wasn't my favourite subject looking back, but I did do pretty well at it. I guess I just thought, if you're doing well at something, follow that type thing, without much extra thought sort of being put into it.
And how long did you stay at that degree?
Yeah, it was probably about 3 or 4 weeks, but it was probably about the first week.
Is a week included in that, or?
Yeah, a week included. I don't think I went to a class by the end of the first week even. I'd sort of made up my mind. I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. There's the classic, like one of the first lectures, the lady just said, look to your left, look to your right. Only one of you all last year. And I looked to my left and looked to my right. I was like, well, it won't be me. I'm done.
So you knew in that moment, you're like, oh, no, actually, this isn't for me.
Yeah, I just sort of knew, just deep down at that moment, I was just thinking, like, why am I here? I'm certainly not a passion. And yeah, I think the units that I had to pick was something like accounting and whatever else it was, but it certainly wasn't of interest to me in the long run. I was better off at that time having a bit of time to have a think about and go back to the drawing board, I guess, and actually put a bit of real thought into it.
Yeah. But then from there you went to Camp America, is that right?
Yeah, I got in like last minute into Camp America, like as late as you possibly could type thing, and spent 4 months over there. You'd sort of run your cabin and doing a whole bunch of outdoor leadership, and again, lifesaving came in pretty handy. That was actually how I got the gig so late. They needed an extra lifesaver, a person with lifesaving quals. So I guess I fell into that, but I was just shooting the resume out to everyone at that point after deferring from commerce.
Yeah.
And yeah, luckily landed at it was a tremendous summer camp. It was like renowned around America, so I don't know how they needed a staff so late, but it was pretty lucky, and it was an awesome experience, like just being in the deep end and having to learn instruction, on the spot, and started channeling me the right way.
That little thing you did because your dad ran a camp and you thought, why not, is actually the motivator for the rest of your career, because that is the thing that got you into that camp and then sort of turned the lights on for you a little bit. Isn't that so crazy?
It is pretty crazy. I get a lot of comparisons with my dad, which if you saw us, you'd probably understand.
Yeah.
But given the path of our careers, but yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, I guess you're going to pick up some traits of your parents if you admire them, and I guess that's sort of the case with me and Dad. I've looked up to him since sort of coming to secondary school, and sort of seeing him in action at the school and been inspired by him. And I guess once that sort of happens, it's a bit of a magnet, and genetics are there for a reason. You end up pretty similar, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, teachers love to travel in packs, right? Like I remember when I started my teaching degree, everyone was like, "Oh, my dad's a teacher," or "My sister's," and I thought this is ridiculous because only my older sister was, and then I was doing it. I wasn't too sure, but then now my younger brother is, his wife, my wife, like we're bloody traveling.
And your sister?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, she's the sister. Yeah. She's right into outdoor ed as well. So
So that's a really key moment for you. So you went from, I'm assuming, like February, March, the O-week period when you attended, well, not O-week period, you wouldn't attend a lecture then.
Yeah.
The next week,
you
have that moment, you look to your left, look to your right, you're like, no, it's not me, this isn't.
Yeah.
Did you have the opposite moment when you're at the camp?
Yes, I would say like just gradually I'd wanted to push back from going down that path all throughout probably secondary school, and then again that's probably another reason why I sort of went down the commerce path, thinking do something different and find your own way, and then the options just kept leading me in that direction, and that's where we've landed. But yeah.
And so from there you went into teaching, is that correct?
Yeah, so I finished the Camp America 4 months and applied for teaching at the end of that, and did a bit more travelling, and couldn't be happier that I have gone down that path. Like teaching's been unreal to me. So yeah, it's a hard job, but it's been good to me so far. Yeah.
It's that funny thing when we're younger where we want to rebel. So it's like you probably had an inkling that you're interested in similar things. It sounds like to your dad. Be like, no, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go do my own thing. But eventually, as you sort of get a bit older, you do realize what you care about, and then it's okay to come back and do it.
Yeah.
It's interesting, this transition.
Yeah.
What have you most enjoyed about being a teacher?
I find the connection piece is the main part for me. Trying to find out and trying to channel the best results or the best parts of kids' personalities and make them feel comfortable in the classroom. I mean, that's probably the main thing for me. There's the theory and the pedagogy behind it. I feel like I can get lost in sometimes. There's a lot that goes on there, but the connection piece has always been probably one of my stronger parts, and making kids feel valued and heard is probably my go-to. That's the highlight for me, running camps and those types of things for sure.
Now, you had a really unique experience, I'm assuming like pretty soon after graduating, where you worked in a boarding house in a remote community.
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
It was an awesome way to start teaching, and like I said, about trying to push away from the family's footsteps and go somewhere else. I couldn't have done something more different. So it was awesome. So the boarding school was 2 hours out of Townsville in the cane fields out of Ingham up there. And yeah, there's students that get shipped in from 55 sort of different communities, something like that, all over the Torres Strait, Northern Territory, all around Queensland. And the boys up there were just magic. And again, the most important thing was just to try and find that connection immediately, as genuine as you could, because they'd see straight through you. They had a pretty high turnover of staff. So just showing them that, you cared, like any sort of teaching job, I guess. But I learned a lot, and I learned it quickly because there wasn't a great deal of in-class support and those types of things, and it's just a perfect way to learn, getting thrown in the deep end and having to learn on your feet. There's some crazy lessons and crazy experiences, but I wouldn't have it any other way now.
Did you have any moments where you're like, I can't do this? I feel like to throw yourself into that's an extreme teaching position.
Yeah.
How much experience had you had prior to that?
Pretty minimal. You probably know through your teaching rounds, you don't really do a heap where you're the main person. So I do remember that. I think it would have probably only been the second time I'd been the lone teacher with a class. Was one of my first lessons, and I was like looking around, like, I guess this is it. You've got to step up.
The door closes, they're all looking at you and yep, this is me.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it was great. Just, again, having to just find your feet and find your way of connecting, and that type of thing. It was
so there was
massive.
Never a feeling of what have I done? The whole time you were like, this is like, I'm in, it's good.
I was so in, I reckon. Yeah, I'd really wanted to do it. I think since year 12, one of my English teachers had taught me a lot about Indigenous Australia, and Indigenous Australians, and I wanted to learn for myself, I guess. So landing at that school at that time was just a really good way for me to mature and grow up, and I saw it that way. I just saw it as a way that this is a part of life, and I've got to learn. You've got to be able to either step up or it's not for you, I guess. And it was super challenging, but I found my role in the school reasonably quickly, as in I ran a bit of extracurricular AFL and found that a really good way to start connecting with kids, and from there started to get a bit of a respect back in the classroom, and that set me on a good path for the school from there, I think. Yeah.
Does that sound familiar to you, Dan?
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember I lived in this remote Aboriginal community called Bidjadanga in WA.
Yep.
I had to do the exact same thing, but it wasn't footy, it was basketball. I used to have to go into community every night, play with the boys and their dads.
Yep.
I reckon, for the first 6 months.
Yeah.
And then it was like just to prove and earn the trust and
Yeah.
get it. Did you have different dialects and different languages with all the different people coming from different communities?
Yeah, it was massive. It's obviously a melting pot of
Yeah.
different cultures. Yeah, 100%. So yeah, my own culture coming in from Melbourne is pretty different to the boys up there and the way they went about things back in their communities. So yeah, I had heaps to learn, but I was just up for it. I was keen as to learn. So
Well, that's the best thing about sport, isn't it? Like, sport can be the universal thing, especially with footy.
common
Like,
connection.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it was. And like I said, the boys started to show a bit of trust towards me, and yeah, it definitely held me in good stead from there at the school, and probably onwards to now. Really, it's like the momentum's sort of carried me on from finding that connection in those challenging times, I guess.
Loz, is it okay if I ask one quick follow-up? Is that all right? So I'm just thinking another thing that's jumping out is, so you really care about connecting and building trust with people. We hear from a lot of people that that's something that they want in teachers or that they need to do more of with their kids. Is there a certain key couple of things that you do that helps start to instantly build connection with people or to start to earn trust that you do as a teacher, or just now you naturally just might do as a person when you're meeting new people?
My go-to is I think I'm just a naturally inquisitive person, so I tend to ask a lot of questions pretty early, and funnily enough, kids love being asked questions, and they do start to break down their barriers a little bit from there. And I obviously had a lot of questions to ask the boys up north, but these days, teaching outdoor ed or running the whole day programs, it's more about asking those random questions and trying to break down barriers for kids where they don't think you're real serious and like you're judging them or anything, and trying to make them feel real relaxed and like their responses or answers don't matter so much.
Yeah, just having a bit of a
genuinely
chat.
interested.
Yeah, and listening for what are the key interests or something to try and find a bit of common ground or something with them.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Do you think that it's more helpful in the environment you're in? I mean, you're often outdoors in camps. You're not always in a classroom. Do you think that helps in terms of creating connection?
Yeah, definitely. I've certainly listened to a couple of podcasts and things where they've spoken about the ability, especially for men, to be way more open when they don't have that eye contact and they're walking, and they tend to open up a bit more and feel more relaxed. And I think that's definitely had a big impact on the teenage boys in the programs. And I think girls are probably more confident generally in terms of opening up around that age and more forthcoming, I think. But yeah, the boys, I think, being outdoors and being out of the four walls, it definitely does allow us to build that deeper connection quicker with them, I think.
Sorry, James. There's something about camps where I used to love it as a teacher. You'd go and you'd see all these other kids shine, not that sometimes maybe didn't get noticed in class, or you'd do some sort of activity. I don't know, sometimes it could be an adrenaline one, like I remember, you have to jump off and do the leap of faith and grab onto like a trapeze bar or something. But there's something really unique when you do those activities together, and bonds the kids and bonds the educators too.
Yeah,
some sort of unifying thing. But it's the best moment with camps when you just see these kids start to shine in different ways. That makes a lot of sense and rings a lot of bells to a lot of the classes I've taught. Those students that are prepared to be a little bit quirky, that is the gold for your class in outdoor ed. That one person that's prepared to put themselves out there a bit, and it just allows other students to be bit silly themselves and opens the door. It's magic. Yeah, those kids that are a little bit different, and definitely gives us a good helping hand. I taught this class, grade 6 class. This was maybe my 4th year, and there was a boy in there who pretty introverted, but he was really good. So I didn't know what bouldering was back then. So really good into his rock climbing. None of us knew, and we went on camp. And they had just this, and he did it backwards and forwards. Kids were getting him to close his eyes, and he was feeling it. His grip strength was insane. Yeah. By the end of the camp and the second day, the whole class in year level are all cheering his name. Yeah. And then that was it.
Yeah.
Like
He's a hero.
it was just, and no one knew. And then they just saw this kid just suddenly be this rock star.
Yeah.
And they all got around him. Like, it was so lovely to see. Like, that's what I think. It's so special listening to what you do. And I've personally, some of my kids have gone on one of the hikes that you guys do too. So full disclosure as well. And they were
good experience we had.
Well, they were raving about it because of that connection and that feel they felt. So I can't advocate for it more.
Can we talk about that now? We talk about the Rise Outdoors.
Yeah, go for it. Absolutely.
I mean, I felt really privileged because James reached out to me just because I'm in the community in which you're trying to target, I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing this thing. Actually, I've got to shout out Cheryl Hodgson actually had mentioned you too.
Good on you, Cheryl.
I bloody love Cheryl.
Legend. Yeah.
She's Cheryl is, but
Cheryl talking about too.
I was going to ask her what the she was. Yeah, Cheryl, what a legend.
Yeah.
She was again, she's like, I'm seeing what Jimmy Cameron's doing. And then you reach out to me. I think our kids, my kids, and yours have gone on one. We've gone on every one, I think, almost.
It's not a competition, though.
Yeah.
Come on.
Not winning, but whatever.
Talk to us about it, though. Why? How did it come to be?
Yeah. So I only know about it from spreading the word. I didn't know how it sort of started.
The idea started way back when I did Camp America. Just seeing the opportunity that those kids had over there, and thinking, damn, I wish there was something like that for kids in Australia, and how much I would have loved it when I was a kid as well. And then there's obviously a lot of qualifications and that type of thing that you got to get to be able to do something like that. And I took a bit of a gap year last year where me and my partner travelled and had a bit of time out and about, and I finally just had a bit of time where I could properly sit down and get to work on it. And the idea and the passion has been there, I guess, since that experience in Camp America. But I just think it's we love our job, teaching outdoor ed. So to be able to do it in the holidays and bring different communities together, and there's a big space for it, and I can't wait to sort of see where it goes and what happens, sort of depending upon the interest. It's all up to the interest, I guess, and how many people sort of enjoy the programs. But it's the idea's been there for a long time. Just took a long time to get to work on it, I think. Yeah.
So if someone doesn't know what Rise Outdoors is, they've got kids of let me know what sort of ages you're sort of looking at. What are the kinds of things that you are hoping kids get out of your programs?
So first of all, the main aim for each of the camps is to connect with peers, connect with the environment, and then for them to feel a connection with us in some way, or one of the staff in some way as well. So making that into the personal connection too. The programs will run around the Mornington Peninsula, although we've got a couple of overnight programs now branching out across Victoria. But the camps or the programs are day programs for kids from 5 to 12, and mini walks for them to take a bit of ownership and feel that sense of pride in achievement. And like I said, it's simple in terms of having a platform for them to connect with one another, and then also just feel that connection to our local environment, which I'm sure you're all aware is pretty awesome down in the Mornington Peninsula.
Yeah. So what are some of the activities? Because each time my kids have come back, they've done something different, and generally come back with something that they've created. So what are some of the activities that you would do?
Yeah, I've got a pretty random brain, so I keep trying to spice things up, and I love trying to come up with new ideas for making sure that they've got at least something to take home with them at the end of the day, where again they can feel that connection piece. So we've made some wind chimes, we've made journey sticks, we've made these shelters,
crisp high
most
fives.
programs. Crisp high fives.
All of them.
But we've done we do a lot of weaving and knots and those types of things as well, and older kids are pretty into that, and then the younger kids trying to come up with different ideas for them to I guess take something home with them and feel that sense of pride and connection to the local area.
So, Loz, I'm feeling like we've got not a full circle, but we're referencing back. So business management was a subject you did.
Yeah.
And sport was really heavy. Now you're doing these two things. I guess to bring it back for like the listeners when they're thinking of, I guess, their careers or people going forward, if they're interested in sport, you might also have this thing that you do on the side.
Yeah.
But like, what are the key skills that you have to draw upon I don't know, every week, every month? What are the key things you're realising you're having to...
For running the business or for...
I reckon
for
both. Yeah. You're a teacher and you're also doing this Rise Outdoors too.
Yeah, it's been a hell of a balancing act.
All right, so time management's a skill.
Time management's been super, super important. But yeah, I'm in a stage of my life where I've got a bit of extra time to be able to do these things. So there's been a lot of time management, and then I've led on my skills from teaching in that organisation and risk assessment path and having the right quals and those types of things. I had a lot of those skills ready to go, probably not a lot in terms of being able to understand how to get the business out there, which my partner luckily is a digital marketer, so she's done a lot of that stuff.
So know when to ask for help too, it sounds like.
Yeah. And I mean, like Laura said, I reached out to her, and I guess hoping that I have built some meaningful connections within the community where people are happy to try and support me while I start off on the journey it is for Rise Outdoors. And I mean, teaching is like a liquid all sorts, isn't it? When you're in a classroom, you've got to be all over everything. And running a camp is there's a lot of stress that comes with running a camp where everything falls back on you if something goes wrong. So I do find these days, getting a bit older and wiser, I've become far more organised and dotting my I's and crossing my T's, where you start to realise the scale of the fact that you're taking 20 young people away and you've been trusted by parents and that type of thing. It certainly doesn't. It's not taken for granted by us, and it's a privilege to be able to run these programs, and the fact that parents at school trust us to send them on the camps and make sure that they are meaningful, but also the holiday program as well. The fact that parents are trusting to send 5-6-year-olds away with this it's certainly a privilege, and it's just something that it's an immense sense of pride if I can deliver something and lead something that is worthwhile to those young kids.
And you do a really good job. I think I remember, again, being my first year or something, running excursions and being like, oh, this will be fun. And then a couple of years later, I was in some sort of staff meeting. One of the APs was, going through the mandatory conversation. I was saying, so, if the coroner was to ask you, I had not even thought about the kinds of things that could have gone wrong in some of those things. And just the older you get, you think, wow, like you really have to make sure you've got your wits about you in those sorts of situations. And I think that you've done so many, and your risk assessment is amazing. I think, you've got to be a certain type of person, I think, to pull it off for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts when you're taking these excursions, but the camps through school, I guess, have given me a good platform where now I do feel really confident in my ability to see where the risks lie and avoid certain activities that do pop up with a few incidents here and there. And it's definitely been a journey, but it's a lot of it's learning from your peers and those types of things as well.
And it's tricky too, because I can imagine sometimes you like an adventure, but you have to realise when you're doing it with other people, maybe your risk assessment, you're saying, no, we won't go for that. We'll put that to the side. That can be a weekend thing just for yourself.
Yeah, that's been massive. Yeah.
But so to help the people listening, so being organised, I know it might sound really silly, just I'm trying to capture the key things that help you. So
sorry, I'm blabbering.
Actually, no, it's great. So I'm just always mindful of how can we help someone think through, like, what is it that we need that helps you. So managing your time, so being aware of what you need to focus on, what you don't need to focus on.
Yeah.
Actually getting organised. I'm assuming that means like planning things out, preparing all the different things. Is there certain things that you think of when you say being organised?
Yeah, I've got a lot better at dotting my I's and crossing my T's, and it's a lot of it comes down to making a to-do list and having that starting point. For myself, I find has been pretty critical in terms of time management and making sure that I am firstly delivering good programs, and then making sure, I guess, when I have taken some of these bigger camps out and really being able to, I think I said before, be able to delegate well has been something that it doesn't come naturally to me. I'm sort of someone that's pretty headstrong, and I like to make sure I do things that things are done properly and I'll do them myself. But being able to delegate and trust those people that I've brought on, whether it's for school camps or for the holiday programs, has been critical, I think. Being able to just trust those people around you. And yeah, I mean, in organisation is massive when you're running these trips as well, just for safety and those types of things, to make sure you know where everything is. And when something does go wrong, it's been pretty important as well. Got a lot better at labelling things and that type of stuff. I was pretty haphazard back in the day. So
it sounds like what you said is you got this real love of sport, outdoor ed, working with people.
Yeah.
It seems like you're creating this thing slowly over time that's a thing you really care about, but it completely plays to all your interests.
Yeah, for sure. Just driving here, this is the area I grew up. Me and my mate around from the Pillars before it was a thing. We were the only ones down there, and we used to run around those cliffs all summer long. So, I mean, the classic of if money didn't matter, what would you do? Like, outdoor adventure has always been my thing, and just being outdoors and connecting with whether it's mates or students, like that is probably the safe place for me, where I feel natural and comfortable. And if I enjoy it, I sort of hope that some other people do as well.
It's interesting. I wonder if you continued on with that commerce degree, what you would have thought business should be, or where you thought your role would have become, like as a commerce graduate. And I wonder whether or not it would ever have been this.
Yeah, that's a good call. I sort of thought going into it that I was going to go down the sport pathway.
Did you?
I didn't know how I'd get there from a straight commerce degree. Had no clue at all. But the idea had been, do commerce and then work your way across into like a sport industry. So who knows? But I don't think I would have had the guts had I not made that call to bail out on that. I don't think I would have had the guts to have then found a random path and backed myself in like I have over the last couple of years as well.
Can I ask, what's the dream for Rise Outdoors? Like, what do you hope for this business?
The dream is that it can provide me with a bit more flexibility where I'm not at a school full time and delivering. Again, I'm not trying to get out of teaching in any respect. It's sort of hopefully like a natural progression of how much interest there is in the program. But if there is interest, like I'm 100% following it, and that's it is obviously it's a real area of passion for me, and it's just an avenue where I think there's just a lot of potential for it out there. And the 1 year plan is to continue on the path that we're going and open up more day programs and keep expanding to more people for the overnight programs as well. In the long run, it's to hopefully provide a bit more flexibility for myself, and I would have nothing that would please me more than if I eventually was able to do it full time. But it comes down to the interest, I suppose.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I
mean, I still think you should get into primary school. That's what I think. Go in there, for a day and just show them what you can do, and that's my advice to you.
Yeah, Laura's going to charge you agent fee or something like that. That's what it's sounding like.
Yeah,
my kids come back so happy from it. Like they, and my daughter, her first camp, her grade 3 camp, there was one award. And I would say she's pretty, head down, doesn't really cause a lot of waves at school. And I don't think is a kid that you would necessarily, wouldn't necessarily take up a lot of space in a classroom.
Yeah.
And she went on this camp and got the one award that they gave, the Rancher Award.
Yeah. And
for her to get that and for her to be recognised in that space, like it just provided so much confidence for her.
Yeah.
And I know going on these camps and these hikes with you again, and she feels like because she got that award at camp, it makes her feel like she's, I don't know if it's an authority, but, it certainly makes her feel really confident to then go out in those sorts of spaces. And I think, unfortunately, a traditional classroom is not going to be the place that everybody is seeing. Like Dan was saying, I mean, I used to run productions. I shouldn't say, I was part of a production team.
Yeah.
And I used to get staff come up to me and say, oh my gosh, that kid doesn't say a word in my class and they're singing the lead. Like, yeah. And you just have to offer these external opportunities because the classroom is not going to be where everybody shines.
Yeah.
It's really not.
No, that's 100%. Yeah, 100% it, isn't it? There's different avenues. Everyone's is so different. So you need to have these branches where people can find their passion, I guess.
And what would be some advice you'd give people that maybe haven't done much outdoors stuff? What would be some advice that you would give people so they can start to discover like some adventures or start to take some risks? Like, you sound like this has been your whole life and you've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to people so they can start to experience it themselves too?
I'd always just jump in and do it. Like, there's so many great local walks that you can start with, and it doesn't have to be a 10K hike or whether it's a 2-base trail or something that's like 30Ks. It doesn't have to be something like that. Just find a local area where there's a nice path where you can at least feel a bit disconnected from the outside world, and I think you'll find your way from there because there's some awesome paths around this local area. There's I just think about Frankston Reservoir, which is so close, and we take kids down there, and a lot of them have never even been in there, and like you could feel like you're almost in the middle of the Grampian in some spots when you look around in there, and there's these spots that people don't know about. So what have you got to do to find out about it? You got to get out there and start trialing, I guess.
Yeah, it's like a forced slowness, isn't it?
Yeah.
Getting out and about. What about so we're recording this the start of 2026. Thinking back, like when you think of all that we've covered, what you know about yourself as a student, what you went through, what you're now doing, what advice would you give to a student or a young person at this point of the school year?
At this point of the school year, for year 12? For any year?
It could be probably like, let's say, years 11 or 12, or even if someone's just finished school as well, maybe. Just someone sort of going through those big transition times. Yeah.
I think my main piece of advice is always just to find what your passion is. And I'm not someone that's too caught up on money, I suppose. So I always think it's a good starting point is to find your passion and follow that. And generally, for myself anyway, I've found that the paths open up a lot of opportunities for me, like you've sort of said, through life-saving and outdoor programs and that type of thing. It's all started from following areas of genuine interest, I suppose. Yeah.
James Cameron, absolute pleasure having you on. We've been excited to do this, so thank you so much. And we will go. I just want to let you know I'm going to go see Avatar 3 in the next episode.
That's where the money side.
Yeah. That's his passion. No, thank you so much for joining us on More Than a Score. Is there any sort of handle or something that people can do if they want to go check out Rise Outdoors online? Or
I've got at Rise Outdoors activities on Instagram, and the website's riseoutdoors.com.au. Love for people to check it out, and feel free to shoot us a message to find out more about the program. And there's different programs coming up every single holiday, so would love to see more. The more the merrier.
And I've got to say, I think you had some sold out ones, didn't you, over the break?
Yeah, we did. We sold out our Mount Arthur one, so that was pretty exciting. So book in as soon as the next one's come out.
That day.
Yeah, it was hectic. I'm pretty lucky. I've got a lot of good assistants because I was relying on them that day. We had 1 to 10, so we had six assistants over 18. Yeah,
it was massive.
Yeah, it was a big one.
That's always great. Well, thank you so much. If you do know someone that's got a story to share, or you'd like to nominate someone, you can reach out to us at morethanascorepod@gmail.com.
Yep.
And Laura, what about on the Instagrams? What are we?
More Than a Score Pod.
Very good. That's right. So nominate someone, get them to share their story, or just reach out and find out more information.
Are you doing a high five?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. With Jimmy Cameron. I've heard about this already. Let's go. We got this. Oh, that one, yeah. So you know now. That was very good.
Yeah, nice. Thank you. Cheers.
All right.
That's brilliant.
Thanks very much.
Did you?
There's a lot of talking about me.
That's that.
I'm not used to that.
And especially when you're an asker, like I'm the same. Like in a conversation, I'm the one that would ask more questions than answer. So I'm exactly the same as you.